a small career to tell one's own children about the universe? How can it be broad to be the same thing to everyone and narrow to be everything to someone? No, a mother's function is laborious because it is gigantic, not because it is minute. Yep, I absolutely agree. Anyway, it's been a huge week, huge, in Chicagoland with the election of Robert Francis Prevost to Pope. Pope Leo the 14th is what he chose, and the memes could not be better. They could not be funnier, and I think it lightens everybody's mood in Chicago. It's almost as if Pritzker can just go cry in his corner and do whatever he's doing, because we have elected, or the Cardinals have elected, a pope, not just from America, but from Chicago, and even more importantly, from Dolton. And it's just absolutely remarkable that the seeds of his faith started in a small community of Dolton, Illinois. And by the way, we've covered Dolton a lot on this show over the last year or two. And we've covered it because it's been a corrupt city. It's been known that way. And hopefully this can absolutely change the lives of people in Dolton, change Dolton's trajectory. Of course, Tiffany Henyard is no longer, and that was actually one of the best memes, was the meme of whoever put it together. I don't know who put it together, but it has a picture of Tiffany on the top, and it says, "I may have been kicked out of office this week, but at least I'll always be the most famous person from Dolton, Illinois." And of course, the bottom picture is that of Pope Leo the 14th saying, "Hold my beer." Yeah. No, I mean, Dolton will now, it could be really a turning point for Dolton. They will now be known as the hometown of a pope, the first American pope. And people may want to mince words about American, but he's fully American pope. First of all, he was born and raised, and his faith was inculcated in North America, and then his service was, of course, in South America, in Peru. So he's certainly an American pope writ large, and for that we're very thankful. It's very gratifying, and of course, you've got a lot of folks out there trying to figure out what kind of pope he's going to be. Even prior to the conclave, he was mentioned in articles. He was profiled as well. People say that he's close to, Pope Francis, or he was close to Pope Francis, and that gives him some cause of concern. But the verdict's, the jury's out. There's no decision yet about how he's going to govern. In what ways is he going to emphasize one issue over another? What will be the things that he discusses about doctrine? It's also interesting, however, that he did pick the name of Leo, and people are putting a lot into that. And I'm hoping, she's headed back to Rome. She's in the airport, but I'm hoping after the break that we will have Mary Fiorito back on. She was there in Rome, and she can give us an update about his election, the sentiment there, and what else she has learned about the Pope. But what we do know is that if he did pick intentionally Pope Leo, the name of Leo, in regards to Pope Leo the 13th, then maybe we should look into what Pope Leo the 13th was most known for. That, and I'm sure many of you guys have figured that out. He was, of course, most known for his encyclical, Rerum Novarum, and of course that was the one that talked about social justice. It talked about the role of government in society. It talked about workers' rights, but it also talked about private property. And that entire encyclical was also extremely anti-socialist, anti-communist, anti-Marxist. So it does seem that in picking this particular name, if indeed it is after Pope Leo the 13th, we could have a whole new conversation about the proper role of government in the life of society. And there's no better place to kind of look at what government has done than to look to Dolton, where the Pope has grown up. And if you didn't get my newsletter this morning, then you missed out. It was a pretty lengthy one. It was really about Dolton, Illinois, and it's the way that it's changed over time. The town went from having faithful, civic-minded residents to electing a corrupt, incompetent show pony like Tiffany Henyard and others before her. In fact, I think she's pretty much still under investigation, and she's left the city bankrupt, owing millions of dollars. But obviously, God calls his shepherds to the priesthood, and parents have an enormous influence. However, the Pope's formative early experiences also probably influenced his decision to join the priesthood. That's why really understanding the place and environment where Pope Leo grew up is a worthy endeavor. And I argued that the Pope himself would do well to understand how Dolton has changed over time. In a time of abundance, there is actually more poverty in Dolton now than there was in the 1950s. The Pope was born in 1955. His parents were married in 1949. They moved to Dolton in 1950, and there was less poverty then. In fact, there was only about 2% poverty then. There's over 20% poverty now in Dolton. What changed? What changed? His father, just a few more details about him, grew up in Hyde Park and attended Hyde Park High School, which was an elite school back then. The family lived in the very typical three-bedroom brick home on a tree-lined street. Probably they spent about $12,500 for the home, or about $165,000 in today's dollar. And then Dolton did start to boom in the 1950s. It was a place where folks left the south of the South Side city neighborhoods like Englewood and West Englewood, and they moved to, more spacious lots and bigger places to where they could grow safely their family. And that's kind of how Dolton took out. Through the 1970s, it grew in population, and then the decline started. And that's what we should really focus in on, because if you want to alleviate poverty, you need to understand from where it came from. And in understanding that, I think the Pope would do well to look at what's happened to his hometown over that time frame. It's very distressing. I mean, the Pope obviously went to Catholic school all the way through college, so he did not attend the Dolton public schools at that time. But if he were to have attended the Dolton public schools, he would have received a decent education at that time at Thornridge High School. And in fact, when you go back to old, and I pulled a lot of these things. I got it from a friend. He has a Wayback Machine where you can find out all the old articles. But you can look and you can see that, in 1960, the Pointer magazine shows that Thornridge Science Project winners, there were 5 of them, and they were high school students who won honors in the annual State Junior Academy of Science exposition. And you can understand that, at that time, there was nothing. Dolton was a good community. You could raise a family affordably. You could send your kids to a good school. But now that is not the case. If you look at Dolton now, and you look specifically at Thornridge High School, which is the public high school there, only 8% of the students read at grade level, and only 1% are proficient in math. And that's despite taxpayers spending $31,000 per student. Well, what happened? Well, part of it had to do with subsidized housing. And I know my producer, George, grew up there. He can attest to some of this as well. He may have his own thoughts on it.
I can, although I think Thornridge was built in the early 70s, so he would have been going to Thornton High School.
I'm not sure about that.
And when I was there, which was, I'm 26 years younger than the Pope, but grew up about 3.5 blocks from there, and my high school would have been Thornton Township as well. So I'm not sure where the lines have been drawn over the years, but either way, both schools were markedly better then than they are now, or even when I was of high school age. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, but it is interesting. If you want to alleviate poverty, you need to understand kind of what happened to Dolton over time. The good news is the Pope did grow up in, the American capitalist system. And if he is harking back to, again, Leo XIII's encyclical, then he'll understand that the value of private property and respecting private property rights was one of the foremost things that Pope brought out. So we'll see where this takes him. I think it's going to be fascinating. But we're hopefully going to connect with Mary Fiorito. We're going to go to break right now, and we'll be right back with more on Da Pope.
With Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
I think that they are smart.
Topical.
Yeah, I'm obsessed.
Well, they cover everything in depth.
I learn things.
They just seem like pretty cool people.
They do incredible interviews.
The morning show's just good. News and information.
Start your day with Chicago's Morning Answer.
In the morning time makes me think about different things going on in the world.
The honesty is what I like the most.
Puts it in perspective.
Weekday mornings starting at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecas.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecas. Valdecas has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at valdecas.com.
Ask about their exclusive manufacturer warranties and their 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at valdecas.com. For the best in class, it's Valdecas.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Thanks for listening in this Mother's Day. Really appreciate it. It's been a great day for me so far. All 5 kids called. Let's take a listen. We are talking about Da Pope and his election from Chicago. I mean, you just got to love the memes. The memes are great. I mean, one of my favorite one was Bears 1, Green Bay 0. Of course, there was a little Sox and Cubs brush up there. I think the Cubs thought somebody false, fake news, said that this Southsider was actually a Cubs fan. No, not true. His brother confirmed he's actually a Sox fan. So I think he's getting a jersey, and of course the Sox put up a big display right away.
I believe you'll find that error was largely on NBC News.
Was it NBC?
Shocker.
Oh, they have no credibility. You can't make that mistake and survive it. All right. Okay. This was the Pope's first opening comments at his first homily.
I'll begin with a word in English, and the rest is in Italian. But I want to repeat the words from the responsorial psalm. I will sing a new song to the Lord because he has done marvels. And indeed, not just with me, but with all of us, my brother cardinals, as we celebrate this morning, I invite you to recognize the marvels that the Lord has done, the blessings that the Lord continues to pour out upon all of us.
Well, here to discuss that and much more is Mary Fiorito. She is the Ethics and Public Policy Center Fellow, Cardinal George Fellow. She's also a licensed attorney here in the state of Illinois. You've heard her before, and she happened to just fly in. I really appreciate you jumping on this call. She just flew in from Rome as well. And first of all, Mary, okay, so people were a little bit annoyed, I guess, that the Pope never spoke in English for his first words from the, I don't know what do you call it? The balcony.
Which is called the loggia in Italian.
Okay. All right. So why? So was that a big issue? Because he certainly opened his homily in English. Do you think that somebody said something to him like, hey, the Americans are a little upset you didn't speak English?
Oh, no. I mean, I think it was quite intentional, but I don't think that anyone in the United States needs to take offense.
Right.
And I think the reason, now he hasn't said anything about that, and no one who has spoken to the Holy Father has told me this is why he didn't say anything in English. But I think, now remember, this is the very first American Pope in the history, 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. And the reason that there's never been an American Pope prior to this is because there really was a concern, particularly among the third world cardinals, that just simply too much of the world's power was going to be consolidated in the United States, right? We have the president, who's the most powerful political figure in the world, and now we would have an American Pope, and that would just consolidate too much with the Americans. But the new Holy Father spent most of his ministerial life as an Augustinian priest and bishop in Peru. In fact, he has dual citizenship with Peru. And so I think that was probably meant to be kind of a reassurance to the many cardinals from the third world who voted for him that, no, I'm not going to lead with being an American. I am, I'm going to lead because the Pope is technically, his first title is Bishop of Rome. So he leads with Italian, and then he did a very kind of special shout out to the people in Chiquelu, Peru, where he has been serving for many, many years, 2 decades. And so, that was the most recent diocese, and he was not a bishop of any diocese in the United States. So he spoke first to his role as the Bishop of Rome, which he now is, and then to his most recent role as a bishop in Peru. So and then the very next day, of course, he said something in English. So he's walking kind of a fine line in that regard. I wouldn't read too much into it or take any.
Yeah, no, I don't. I just think it's kind of a Mickey Mouse for people to do that. Obviously, he is the church is universal. The church is everywhere, right. and he needs to respect that. But hey, how about having an American Pope? Tell us what it was like. Did you? I mean, when we talked, did you think last Sunday when we talked that we would have an American Pope?
It was in the realm of possibility for sure. And for the first time, a real realm of possibility, and not just kind of like, oh, blah, blah, blah is really great. And, maybe he could be an American Pope. Again, because this particular priest, not only is he a member of a religious order that's sort of a worldwide order, the Augustinians, but he's been, he was a cardinal in South America and a bishop in South America for decades. So he was like what the Italians called the least American of the Americans. And so for that reason, he really was sort of seen as a candidate who could bridge a lot of different worlds, right? He's from the first world, so everybody in the first world is like, okay, great, he gets us. But also he's served most of his life in the third world. And so he certainly understands those issues of poverty. Now, Cardinal George had very much the same trajectory in terms of his own, life as a priest and then a bishop, because he joined the Oblates of Mary Immaculate. And I remember one time, I can't remember something Cardinal George said to me where we were talking about poverty, and he said, as Americans, even the worst places in like the Seventh Ward in Louisiana don't come close to what you will see in parts of Asia or Africa or Haiti. Like, you don't really understand as an American what poverty is unless you've really gotten outside the country and gone into a third world country. So this particular Pope so he was kind of somebody that everybody could say, okay, he gets kind of He gets the church universal.
Well, okay, let's just move to that real quickly here. I don't have much time with you, but, you know, he did pick the name Leo, and a lot of people are saying that's, you know, that he's got an affection then for Leo the 13th. I mean, there's 12 other Leos, obviously, he could have picked from too, or had a kinship to. But, you know, and this is, you know, the encyclical that Pope Leo the 13th is most known for, you know, dealt with social justice and the role of government in society. And, you know, it was also anti-communist, anti-socialist. It was very protective of private property rights. So where I mean, this Pope could learn a lot by looking at the poverty that basically was in it. How Dolton changed from a very prosperous community to its own poverty. And it wasn't because capitalism took hold. It was because dysfunctional government policies took hold. Well, and a lack of faith show. I mean, I think Dolton's a really good case study for him.
Yes. Oh, and Jeannie, I would really recommend listeners look at your Breakthrough Ideas website to get that kind of breakdown of the disintegration of Dolton. I think that's a perfect example. And I've already sent it out to a couple of other people. But in terms of the name, I mean, remember, the Pope is supposed to be a figure of continuity. And the fact that, unlike Pope Francis, he didn't pick a name that nobody else had ever chosen before. He is taking a name from Pope Leo, so he's going back, you know, more than 100 years. And remember, in Rerum Novarum, what Pope Leo said was that the first victim of communism was the worker, was the working man.
Yes.
And so don't paint him into this he's a crazy leftist liberal thing.
That's right.
In fact, our friend, former Congressman Dan Lipinski, texted me within a couple hours. I had looked up his voting record, and when he voted here in Illinois, every time he took a Republican ballot. So I would not jump to paint him in any kind of particular category at all. I think we're probably going to see somebody, again, it's been all of a couple of days, but I think we're going to see somebody who's going to be very conservative in terms of the important moral issues of the church.
That's awesome because, right outside
of marriage.
Right outside Dolton, Planned Parenthood set up the Flossmoor abortion clinic. And, he has the Pope should come here and have a message for all of us. I am thrilled that he was chosen.
Oh, him too. And again, just sort of being there. And, we didn't think anything, my colleagues and I didn't think anything was going to happen on this particular ballot. We thought it was going to go another day. And so we were just kind of getting a bite to eat at a restaurant right outside of St. Peter's. And then all of a sudden someone started screaming, Fumo Bianca, which means white smoke. And the whole restaurant got up and started running. It was so exciting to be there.
You just had a front row seat to history. We got to leave it right there. Mary Fiorito, thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story. We'll be right back. UIC professor sues UIC over racial discrimination.
For nearly a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we've expanded Cigar Night to 2 nights. Wednesday, May 21st at Goldberg's Farm in Pingree Grove. And Thursday, May 22nd at Gaelic Park in Oak Forest. Featuring the great Larry Elder, along with AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Virago Immune Support Supplement.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. Hamas announcing it will release the last American hostage they've been holding since the October 7th attack.
Idan Alexander's a dual U.S.-Israeli citizen, and Hamas says he's going to be released as part of steps being taken toward a ceasefire and the entry of aid and relief for the Gaza Strip.
Fox's Jill Nato. Another blackout today of air traffic controller screens at Newark International Airport, causing disruptions for air travelers.
The FAA must put Newark first and must put everything they've got into fixing Newark ASAP. This situation cannot last.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says it is safe to fly. America is listening to Fox News.
The Dinesh D'Souza podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Trump plays the crazy man strategy, and people never know what he's going to do. So while we don't see fully through the end of the tunnel, Trump seems to see through the end of the tunnel. It does seem that there is a strategy, maybe a crazy man strategy, but there is a strategy in play.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Imagine using your skills and experiences to inspire young minds. We see the teacher in you. No matter your starting point, we can help you become a teacher. Teaching offers consistent pay, a pension, and summers off. Learn how you can be the teacher. Visit BeTheTeacher.org. Sponsored by Grow Your Own Teachers, Illinois.
You never want to miss one of life's most important moments. A graduation, a birthday, a first communion, a wedding. When these moments happen, you want to make sure to capture them so that you and your loved ones can remember them for years to come. For over 30 years, families have relied on Tom Kaloran Photography to capture important life moments. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography, from weddings and birthdays to class reunions and golf outings. No matter the size or scope, Tom Kaloran Photography will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, welcome back. It's Jeannie Ives here. Thanks for joining me tonight on Mother's Day. Really appreciate mothers, and I, as a mother, appreciate my children. Okay, listen. Y'all know what because I've been talking about a lot. You've heard these things that are happening in higher education before, and to the extent that I can, I have been listening in to the Higher Education Appropriations Committee in the House. The House seems to have a better time for me to listen in. I have not listened into the Senate so much. However, I talked to Chapin Rose, and he can confirm a lot of what I've said. So what you do know is that these university presidents, they go before the hearing committee, and I'm telling you right now, it's all race all the time. It's the entire thing that they talk about. And many have been asked about questions about, well, you know, how have Trump's policies impacted you? And specifically, how about their DEI policies? And of course, the NIU president flat out said, oh, we're not changing a thing. We only changed the name. If we don't have our diversity, equity, and inclusion webpage, we have our inclusive excellence webpage. They fully admitted, we're still doing DEI. Let them come after us. No, we think it's just fine. You should also know, they have the minority teaching scholarships are also being sued over because Illinois gives out teaching scholarships, $7,500 if you get one of these every year. But if you're a white student, do not apply. Do not apply. Everything else, go ahead. But if you're a white kid, you're not eligible for a teaching scholarship, a big teaching scholarship. $7,500 goes a long ways. Western Illinois University was sued too for scholarships that they were giving only to students of color. Only to students of color. And then, of course, you have my favorite, which I completely blew up last year. They didn't like that, but I don't care. And by the way, I have a law firm ready to sue if they pass this bill. But that's a race-based education funding. So it's all race all the time. How do you like that? I don't like it at all. I don't think it's fair. And most other people do. Well, now we've got a new case. And Liberty Justice Center just sued the University of Illinois Chicago for firing a professor who criticized racial discrimination in hiring and retention practice. This is from their press release, February 10th, 2025. Professor Stephen KleinSchmit holds a PhD in public administration, was a clinical associate professor in the University of Illinois Chicago's Department of Public Policy, Management, and Analytics until August 2023. During his time at UIC, he became concerned about the university's fixation on race when interviewing and hiring faculty and quickly realized that multiple university programs were illegal under federal law because they regularly used race as a primary or even exclusive factor in hiring decisions. Well, Professor KleinSchmit joins me now along with his lawyer. His lawyer is Riley Stevens. He's with a senior counsel and director of amicus practice at the Liberty Justice Center. The Liberty Justice Center, of course, famously sued all the way up to the Supreme Court and won that Janus decision that allowed folks who were being forced to be in a union to actually get out of that union, and became a nationwide effort to get people out of unions that they didn't want to be in. So they join us right now. Thank you so much, Stephen and Stevens. I don't know how to go about that, but yeah. So we have Stephen KleinSchmit and Riley Stevens. Stephen KleinSchmit, let's just start with you. Tell us about this case. Tell us how, just kind of the genesis of it, when you first started realizing what was going on, and what was the trigger that you just said, I've got to speak up against this?
Oh, sure thing. Thanks for having me on. It's nice to be here. I guess I have a very kind of, I'd like to say this is a very important case, and for a lot of different reasons I'll go into. But it started back, I joined UIC faculty back in 2017. In 2019, I sat on the faculty search committee for a tenure track position. And I remember very explicitly that one of our colleagues, when we'd sat on the kind of initial screening review, that we had advanced a slate of candidates we deemed to be the best qualified, and then somebody remarked, "Are we really going to hire another white guy?" And that stuck into me as like we've gone through multiple iterations of search committee training on civil rights law and what things you can and cannot do, and to even mention that was kind of breathtaking. We continued on, and then right about the time of the kind of, I guess, the summer of 2020, when a lot of the protests and whatnot were going on with regards to George Floyd, I started seeing communications from the university about this new program, Bridge to the Faculty, that explicitly stated its aim to increase the number of minority faculty members at the university. And that just came very odd, is that I thought this was pretty clearly established. You know, I teach organizational theory, I teach public administration. Like, this is my wheelhouse, this is my area of expertise. And I had to sit in these search committee meetings where, you know, it was explicitly stated, like, the purpose of this program is to increase diversity. And when going through the reviews, that, you know, we were just basically told and given guidance by the university's Office of Institutional Equities that you cannot, I mean, like, you know, when you draft your job ads, that you have to, you know, you can't state explicitly that you have a racial preference. You must say, use kind of coded words like studies minoritized populations, disadvantage, decolonialization, like all these things that were basically proxies. And I realized is that, you know, this program had been created as a way to essentially create, you know, provide a thin veneer of credibility on top of a program that's ostensible purpose was, you know, to hire minority faculty and only minority faculty. And that's essentially what we did. That we had, I don't know what number of applicants we had, but I do know that we basically turned away white and Asian applicants and instead only had African American and Hispanic applicants to be the ones that we interviewed were part of the pool. And I was concerned about this. The design of the program is that they're hired as postdoctoral scholars, which you don't even have to do a competitive search to do. And they're waived into a tenure track position, which by law has to be advertised nationally and competitively. And I just started noticing this entire shift in the attitude of the university and its programs and its hiring and its kind of just this culture that had gone amok. And I don't want to kind of go on too long, but I was just very concerned. It's just like, how is this legal? And when I started digging into the different parts of the, you know, very kind of hidden administrative code that's kind of locked away that you wouldn't, you'd have to be internal to the university to even know that they existed.
Right.
And I was just like, this is not just one program, but there's multiple programs, and some of them have existed since the 80s and spent, you know, almost $100 million, and they directly state, you know, that you must be a part of you must be a certain race or demographics to even qualify for them. And I just thought, it's like, this is a frightening and gross violation of academic freedom and trust, that there's just a tremendous amount of social pressure that's involved in being a faculty member at, particularly at UIC, which has always prided itself on activism. And I just saw that the entire faculty was transforming, that we were not allowed to hire through traditional faculty hiring channels that were internal to our department. And instead, we had to apply to the main central administration that could decide whether or not we could hire anyone at all. And in doing so, we had to basically bend the knee and say, you know, we must hire this and we must change our programs to center race and social equity and all these things. It's the central organizing feature of our things. And it's just a shocking type of thing. And
Stephen, let me pause right there real quick and just ask you, no, I mean, this is all really good background. People should know what's going on because we don't know. We can't find out. Yeah. Nobody tells us this stuff except unless you're an insider. But how about diversity of thought? How about any Black or Hispanic conservatives, or were they weeded out as well? Or did you not get that far in the process to know?
I can't say that I saw any of those candidates.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. All right.
Yeah. I'd say that it's kind of the realistic kind of nature of these things is that many of the people who are the type that we want to recruit in the way that they're creating this kind of substitution criteria that you can work around is they explicitly state essentially lines of activist research that are populated only by particularly African American and Hispanic scholars. And they tend to be very, you know, aligned very far left politically. And that it's a frightening kind of thing. And I felt I kept on bringing it up to people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, Shelby Steele, Thomas Sowell, true academics, true thought leaders and scholars, they would be appalled to know that this was going on. And it does a disservice to everybody, because then when anybody, a person of color is in front of you in a position like that, you have to wonder if they were a diversity hire, and that's not the way it should be. So what was your next step then? You just decided to blow the whistle, you quit, they fired you. How did it get to the lawsuit?
So it started I want to reiterate that as an associate clinical professor that was promoted early, I've been through multiple reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I've built a nationally prominent data science program, won national awards. I'm kind of a heavy hitter in what I do. But I started bringing this up with, department chairs and then deans. And then I was kind of told that you don't want to be really seen going up against this. This is just kind of things are, and, the culture and stuff like that. But it really bothered me because I'm a former vet. I served with a lot of people from all sorts of different backgrounds. And it just really bothered me that this was occurring, but, it was fundamentally unfair to us non-tenure track people. As a non-tenure track faculty member, I don't get tenure, but the type of people we were recruiting were far, and I'm sorry if the former fellows hear this, but I think it's part of the suit, but, the quality of these fellows were far below the quality of the faculty that we would recruit under their merit-based processes. And it just seemed fundamentally unfair, but also counter to science and the entire purpose of the endeavor we were doing. But I brought it up. We got a new dean in 2022. I had some private meetings and kind of informal things where I talked to her and said, I have reservations about the climate of this college. I have some reservations about these hiring programs that seemed unfair. And I could tell that she was very much expressed the desire to transition our college into a culture of social justice activism.
Oh,
and I just kind of ran afoul of, in what I thought was a reasonable part of academic governance and things like that, is that my contract wasn't renewed.
Oh,
and they did it in a particularly bad way, that instead of informing me early so I could go on the job market, they waited until essentially almost the latest possible point in which all the jobs had been announced, and, academia hires on annual cycles. So it left me unemployed for an entire year and basically destroyed every professional accomplishment I had built over the course of the previous 10 years.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, I want to talk with your lawyer really quickly about how the case is progressing and what he thinks will be any pitfalls or how successful it may be. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime adventure. Set sail August 16th through the 23rd on the Patriots Alaska Cruise with me, Mike Gallagher, and our friends Larry Elder and Jennifer Horn, Joe Piscopo. Experience breathtaking glaciers, fjords, and wildlife, all while diving into critical discussions about America's future with hundreds of like-minded patriots on the ship. Cabins are going fast. Text TRAVEL to 94878 right now to secure your spot before it's too late. Just text the keyword TRAVEL to 94878 for the Patriots Alaska Cruise.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Maha starts with Virago, making America healthy again. With the worst flu season in years, you need an immune system boost. The stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights and defends against and. So get Virago. Virago Immune Enhancement Support is a unique blend of 23 nutraceuticals, ingredients that have been available as individual nutraceuticals, but now working in synergy to maximize their effects. Recommended by medical physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals, Virago is the nutraceutical cocktail for immune support. Developed to strengthen your immune system for quick response to immune challenges, for short and long-term immunity, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It even protects your heart, kidneys, liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Order online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha. Making America healthy again starts with Virago.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining me this Sunday night. Still on the line with us is Dr. Stephen KleinSchmit, professor formerly from UIC, now suing UIC over a race discrimination hiring issue, and his lawyer, Riley Stevens. And Mr. Stevens, I just wanted to talk to you briefly about the case. Where is it, and what do you think its success is going to be? As I noted in my opening, I mean, Illinois public universities are getting sued left and right over their racial discrimination policies.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Happy Mother's Day. I think in terms of where the case is right now, so we filed this a couple months ago, and now just as of, I think it was last week, the defendants filed their motion to dismiss. So basically, they've now filed their response. And I noticed they didn't actually make any substantive objections. All their objections are sort of technical, because I don't think there's really, on the merits, I just don't think there's anything to defend what happened with Stephen and what this university's been up to. But so we are now, briefing that and litigating that, and that will all shake out in the end. But we're really proud to have Stephen here. He's, as you can tell, he is really enthusiastic and really, what happened to him is just emblematic of, I think, what's been happening all around the country for years now. And, we want to be a part of putting a stop to this, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, famously, Harvard got sued, and I think it was North Carolina got sued over race-based admissions. You would have thought that faculty would have wisened up. Stephen, this took a lot of courage for you to do this, especially considering that you probably knew that your job may be on the line, depending on who you talk to about this. Here you bring up a reasonable argument. We should not be hiring based off race, and they continue to do it. So. Let's just give the last word to you real quick, Stephen. I just want to tell you, how did your family react? What type of courage did it take to do this? And how do you feel about things going forward?
I guess I knew going into this, having, knowing the culture of higher education and knowing, even the research that shows the ideological makeup of the social sciences, humanities, and just higher ed in general, that this was going to be unpopular in some fields, but I feel that, I can't be part of an organization that is so, whose ethics, as somebody who teaches public ethics, that are, that being part of this was just something that I couldn't accept. But I felt supported in the fact that one thing that's unique about this case is that there's a tremendous amount of public documentation. Big thanks to Aaron Sabarium at the Washington Free Beacon. They worked to do FOIA requests and put about at least 400 pages of documents out there where I think the title of it is 40 academic departments at UIC put in writing their intent to discriminate. Is that I don't think there might be a case that I know of, and that's just of one of the 5 programs. Another one of the programs, I've been told that there's at least 2,000 pages of documents that do this. So, I feel like I am already feeling a bit of the pressure. I've already suffered a bit of harassment. I've had other people at other UI system universities who've reached out to me, who've relayed similar activities. And I just think that this is a chance not only for me to seek justice for the damage that has happened to my career and to my life because of this, but as stated in the lawsuit itself, when you look at the institutional statistics, I'm not alone. There are literally you look at the percentages of white non-tenure track faculty and graduate assistants during the last 6 years have plummeted, and you've seen 25, 35, 40% increases in just about every other racial demographic. Is that I'm emblematic of an entire class of individuals who is now actively experiencing discrimination. And I've got thousands of pages of documents that detail a widespread institutional violations of civil rights. So I feel very vindicated in that if we get to address,
Stephen,
these.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm up against a break again. I should have just put you in a longer segment, but I want to thank you so much for coming on. I want to thank you for exhibiting the courage. I hope this isn't our last conversation because there's so much more about higher education that I'd love to talk to you. But I will tell you this one thing. Nobody down in Springfield is talking about these lawsuits. Nobody is challenging these university professors when they're presidents when they're in front of them and saying, "What are you doing?" And I'm going to make darn sure that the conservative Republicans there are aware of what's going on and will question them whenever they get a chance to. I want to thank you so much, Professor Stephen KleinSchmit, lawyer Riley Stevens. Thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. Thank you. Appreciate you at all. Okay, we have got to turn real quick to Mark from Oak Lawn. I wanted to get your question in before the break. Mark, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for taking my call.
You got like 30 seconds.
Yeah, Jeannie, I was at a homily at a Catholic Mass today, and the priest was saying, when Pope John Paul came in, he was pretty excited, but he says, with the new Pope, he's hopefully to encourage them, but not to get too excited. You just got to wait and see.
Okay, Mark, I appreciate that sentiment, but I'll tell you what I'm excited about? The fact that he's from Chicago, and if he can shine a light on what's going on in Chicago with the abortion industry here, the transgender industry, I'm all in.
Movie called Electric Vehicles, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Now, I love my gas-powered car, but I also care about the planet. And so I pose the question, are EVs really better for the planet than gas-powered vehicles?
An electric vehicle is a computer with 4 wheels and some seats.
Torque is instantaneous. The batteries are lasting very long.
Charging them at your house using solar is amazing.
What do you do with these batteries when they go bad? Long distance, they create anxiety. Sitting in a parking lot just burst into flames.
The components are made in China, so there could be tracking mechanisms put into Americans' cars.
We're going to be relying on China.
It's not just a movie about cars. It's about how we choose to shape our future and the ethical, environmental, and security issues they create. Electric Vehicles, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, produced by Impactful Pictures. Watch it or buy the DVD now at salemnow.com. That's salemnow.com.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer.
Progress in Switzerland. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. The U.S. and China appear to be closing in on a trade deal that could end their tariff war.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent emerged from 2 days of talks with the Chinese with an optimistic tone.
I'm happy to report that we made substantial progress.
He added details would not be announced until Monday. President Trump has set the current tariff on imported Chinese goods at 145%, while China is charging 125% for U.S. goods being exported there. The president cited progress in a Truth Social posting Saturday. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
A hostage is expected to be released by Hamas as President Trump visits the Middle East this week.
Hamas announcing that there will be a hostage release. No visit by Trump to Israel during this travel. A sign analysts say that the president is finding Netanyahu more difficult to work with. I put that recently to U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee.
Absolutely, we don't see there being any roadblock at all. The relationship is, I think the word is often used here, ironclad. That's the operative word.
These new developments regarding the hostages held by Hamas were related to U.S.-directed talks through other intermediary countries with Hamas.
Fox's Greg Palcott reporting the hostage, Edon Alexander, is believed to be the last American hostage held by Hamas. President Trump saying he's going to sign an executive order tomorrow that would reduce prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices by between 30 and 80%. In a post on Truth Social, the president saying they will rise throughout the world in order to equalize and, for the first time in many years, bring fairness to America. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Tonight, clear with a low of 55. Tomorrow, sun giving way to clouds with a high of 77. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy and mild with a stray thunderstorm and a low of 61. Tuesday, cloudy with a thunder shower and a high of 74. Tuesday night, low clouds with a low of 57. Wednesday, a blend of sun and clouds with a stray thunderstorm, warm with a high of 78. I'm Jillian Ford on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
You've probably been hearing a lot of buzz about tariffs.
I haven't.
Really?
What's a tariff? It's a tax on imported goods.
It makes these imported goods more expensive.
Oh, that explains why I've never heard of tariffs.
Why?
Because 92.3% of the furniture at Penny Mustard is made in the USA.
True.
In fact, most of it is built by local craftsmen and women right here in the Midwest.
And locally sourced furniture will never have a tariff on it.
So when you invest in new furniture at Penny Mustard, you won't be paying extra taxes and shipping costs.
Besides, tariffs or no tariffs, our American-made Penny Mustard Strong furniture will last generations longer than IFE-made furniture shipped in from overseas.
You get so much more for your money when you buy American.
Tell me more about these tariffs.
Can we talk about this later? I'm so tired of hearing about them.
Oh, so I guess you can say that all this talk about tariffs is taxing.
I see what you did there.
PennyMustard.com.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to The Real Story. It's Jeannie Ives here. Thanks for joining me on this Sunday night. It's Mother's Day, and I really appreciate that Congressman Darin LaHood has come in to give us a discussion about what is going on up in Washington, D.C. I've been wanting to talk to Darin for quite a while because there's a lot of activity there, and I know that voters, I know that taxpayers, I know that most people pay attention to what's going on at the national level. So really appreciate Darin taking some time tonight to talk to us about these important issues. Darin, of course, is an Illinois Republican congressman from Peoria. He serves the 16th Congressional District. Prior to that, though, he spent 4 years in the Illinois State Senate, 9 years as a state and federal prosecutor. He also worked for the DOJ as an assistant U.S. attorney in Las Vegas and as a chief terrorism prosecutor. There's a whole host of issues that we could talk to Darin about. But what we're going to talk to him because he serves on the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. They have jurisdiction over your taxation and revenue issues. So we're going to talk to him first and foremost about that big, beautiful bill that President Trump once passed. It is sort of in a logjam. It seems to be slowing down. I know that the Hill and numerous other agencies have been reporting that House Republicans, quote, this is from the Hill, are falling further apart in negotiations on a reconciliation package that represents President Trump's first-year legislative agenda. And they say they have just weeks to go before their self-imposed deadline. And that's critical. It's a self-imposed deadline. Some of the conflicting areas seem to be how to cut Medicaid and raising the SALT deduction cap. Darin, listen, we just want things to get done, and we want those tax cuts to become permanent. What is going on with this negotiation?
Well, Jeannie, first of all, happy Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all of your viewers out there that are celebrating today. Always good to be on with you, Jeannie. Thanks for all you do to continue to promote good public policy and hold elected officials accountable and all your conservative values. Grateful to be on with you. You're exactly right, Jeannie. We are debating putting together the one big, beautiful bill. And I do serve on the Ways and Means Committee, and I'm fortunate enough to be part of that process of putting this bill together. If you go back, Jeannie, to the election last November, which seems like years ago, but, I argue the president got elected on two issues. One, fixing the unmitigated disaster at our southern border, and secondly, the economy. And if you look at this one big, beautiful bill, we take care of two things in there. First and foremost is the economy. And next week, we're going to have a hearing on the Ways and Means Committee that's going to release this bill, and we're going to have a debate and get it through the Ways and Means Committee. The House is moving to get this to a vote, I would say, in the next 2 to 3 weeks here. And we predicate the bill, Jeannie, on a couple things. One, we want predictability and certainty for our economy. We want, there's a lot of companies, small, medium, large businesses, family-run businesses, farmers, that want predictability and certainty when it comes to our taxes. If we do nothing this year, we're going to have $4.5 trillion of tax increases because of expiring provisions at the end of this year, 2025. So it's imperative that we pass this. And if you go back to 2017, when we passed President Trump's first tax bill, I would argue it created the best economy in my lifetime in what we did. We brought the corporate tax rate to 21%. We brought, for small and medium-sized businesses, down to 21%. Also, we cut taxes for working families and working individuals, but we didn't make a number of things permanent. So foundational to what we're doing right now is we're making permanent what's 100% bonus depreciation, which every small business, whether you have 2 employees or 20 employees, have. We expand the research and development tax credit. We expand 199A. We expand the child tax credit. We also make permanent the estate tax. So I know I'm throwing a lot out at you there, Jeannie, but those are what we're working on. I would say we're in agreement as Republicans on 90% of that. The tough part is, you mentioned it, SALT, how far we go with our cuts, because, we have an obligation and responsibility to make significant spending cuts. And there's some disagreement on that, but the president wants to get this done. Don't underestimate the power of the presidency to get this done. We've seen already this year with a couple big votes, the president's weighed in. This is his signature piece of legislation. The last point that I'll make, and then happy to get into questions and comments.
Sure.
Part of this bill will be codifying provisions at the southern border, like remain in Mexico, which the president has used through executive order. Getting rid of catch and release, which Joe Biden implemented to allow 11 million people to come into our country illegally. Those are going to be part of fixing or codifying the executive orders that President Trump has already put in place. Because what you've seen is border crossings are down 95% because of those policies and because of what Kristi Noem and Tom Homan and the DOJ are doing to enforce the rule of law. We need to codify that. That'll be part of this bill also.
Well, I mean, that is the other thing that's very interesting is that this isn't just about tax and revenue. It is about these other issues. Could you tell us what are some of the ancillary issues that are also in this big, beautiful bill? For example, is he codifying anything that deals with the DOGE effort? Is he codifying anything that deals with the DEI efforts to strict that from anything that the government deals with? Are those parts of this as well, or is that going to happen somewhere else?
Absolutely. Spending cuts are going to be a part of this, and many of the provisions put forth or the suggestions put forth by DOGE and Elon Musk will be a part of this. Remember, Jeannie, we're $36 trillion in debt. If we want to have these tax cuts, which are going to be huge for the private sector and for the economy and the free market system, you got to offset that with spending cuts. Think about it this year, Jeannie. In FY 2025, which we're still in, we're going to bring in roughly $5 trillion. We're going to spend $7 trillion, partly because of the Biden prerogatives from last year. That's unacceptable. So getting our spending under control through DOGE, through those rescissions that Elon Musk has given us, that'll be a big part of that. You mentioned earlier SALT. Now, we have not resolved SALT. As you know, we got rid of the SALT deduction in 2017. This time around, we have a number of members that want to increase that deduction up to maybe 30% or 40%. That costs a lot of money. And there's a lot of concern by fiscal conservatives like myself that we can't incentivize big tax states like New York, New Jersey, Illinois, California to continue to engage in these policies. And frankly, it costs a lot of taxpayer money to do that. So I am resistant to expanding the SALT deduction, very high. And I think a lot of my colleagues are also, but that's going to be an issue that the president's going to have to weigh in and we're going to have to deal with. Lastly, on Medicaid, there's been a lot of resistance to that. Now, what I believe on Medicaid is we ought to take able-bodied adults that are on Medicaid. We ought to move them into jobs. We have 7 million unfilled jobs in the country right now. And a good way to get rid of that Medicaid, the spending we do on Medicaid, is to move people into these jobs. And so there's going to be an effort here on work requirements, on changing how we do TANF, on getting people off of Medicaid and into jobs. The best social service program is a JOB, a job. That's going to be part of this package also.
Well, I applaud you for holding fast because to be an Illinois congressman is to actually get beat up by the left, especially in saying, why aren't you in favor of raising the SALT deduction, especially here in the suburbs? People feel that way. But as we just, found out last week, Adam Data Services did a property tax study. And of course, what's the number one county for the highest property taxes in the entire country? Oh, it's Galesburg area. It's Knox County. So, you also have rural counties that are hit by the SALT tax, but you are definitely right. The SALT deduction is a problem at the state and local level. It is not a problem at the national level. And I wish your New York Republican congressman would figure that out. And the messaging on this should be so easy to do. By increasing the SALT deduction, you are bailing out millionaires. That's essentially what you're doing. They want to tax the rich, and then they don't want to tax the rich. And this should be just an easy messaging point, in my opinion. I don't understand why people don't understand things. Also, let's face it, that Tax Cut and Jobs Act essentially got rid of a lot of people getting hit by AMT, alternative minimum tax, because the deductions were so much higher that so many people couldn't even use the SALT deduction now, given the new increased deduction amounts that came out through the 2017 cut.
Jeannie, let me just mention one other thing on the reconciliation bill.
Okay.
We're going to gut the IRA, and we need to do that,
good.
the Inflation Reduction Act, because it has a bullseye on it, and it should. Remember, it was passed in a blatantly partisan way by Biden, the new Green Deal, as they called it. But there's going to be huge cuts to that, and there should be. We're not in the business of subsidizing industries. We're not China in the sense that we don't have state-owned enterprises. We don't subsidize our industries. And so there's going to be an effort to have significant cuts on many of these mandates that were put in there, many of these boondoggles that were done for the green credits. And so there'll be, that's got a bullseye on it. And that could give us savings of $450 to $500 billion, almost $500 billion. So that needs to be significant cutback. That will help to pay for the tax cuts for working Americans.
Okay, that's terrific. All right, audience, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more from Congressman Darin LaHood. We're going to turn to exactly what he was talking about, those tax subsidies mainly for green energy scams. And I want to talk to him about this major solar development in Sangamon County, the largest solar development east of the Mississippi. We want to talk to him about that and get his read on a few more things dealing with China and tariffs.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Our local hospitals are the heartbeat of our communities, delivering critical care every hour of every day for everyone, training the next generation of caregivers. Beyond the walls, their benefit to the community is everywhere, driving the local economy and supporting local organizations, initiatives, and neighbors. Illinois Hospitals, healing communities. Learn more at team-iha.org. Sponsored by the Illinois Health and Hospital Association. Aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
You can hear this today at PregerTopia.com.
Besides the Bible, where do you find your most wisdom from?
I got the most wisdom in 4th grade. I'm not kidding. It has been the guideline of my life. And I will tell it to you folks. I have said it in the past, but I don't expect everybody to remember this or everybody to have heard it.
Hear the entire episode. It's for Pregertopia members only. Go to PregerTopia.com.
We always use M13. They can print anything.
They design and price match. M13 does amazing work.
M13 Graphics has helped make our brand stand out. They're definitely the best for less.
Before M13, amateur. With M13, we look awesome.
M13 Graphics, Chicago's leader in full-color design and printing. Set your business up for success with exceptional print products. Turned around in just 24 to 48 hours. Business cards, postcards, posters, banners, brochures, apparel, you name it. M13 will design and print nearly anything for your business. They have the right people in place and a reputation that keeps customers happy and coming back for more. They're a Chicago company that embodies the idea of business integrity. They live it every day. After all, in this country, you're free to do business with who you choose. Respect that freedom. Choose the best. For speedy turnaround, excellent service, and the best pricing in Chicagoland, choose M13 Graphics for all your design and printing. Online at M13.com. Visit M13.com or call now, toll free, 877-M13-1913. That's 877-M13-1913.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro. 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back. It's Jeannie Ives, and you're listening to The Real Story here on Mother's Day weekend. We appreciate Congressman Darin LaHood coming on. We left off with talking about, trying to claw back some of those IRA subsidies. And Darin, I was really concerned when I read this Illinois Times article written by a friend. Scott Reeder's a good guy. He's a good reporter. He put out this piece about the major solar development opens in Sangamon County. And of course, area leaders tout jobs, tax revenue from the double Black Diamond Solar Farm. This is going to be the largest solar power development east of the Mississippi. It's going to be on 4,000 acres. 4,000 acres. It's going to generate apparently 800 megawatts. That translates to powering about 100,000 homes. And this was land that used to grow corn and soybeans. All right. But I mean, I got to tell you, I know what they're getting off of that land. Those people are getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 an acre. And the governments there are excited because they're going to be receiving $100 million of tax revenue in the first year for the taxing bodies in that area, and $100 million over the life of the project. This, you know why they're getting that much? Because it's heavily subsidized by the federal government.
Well, absolutely, Jeannie. If it wasn't for the IRA, again, the boondoggle Democrat, and I'm not going to call it the Inflation Reduction Act because it didn't do that. Right. So I don't even give them the credit of using the name. But that solar farm that you just talked about would not be happening if it wasn't for subsidizing that industry. That's the bottom line. And that's why it's more imperative than ever that we get rid of those credits, which fund projects like this. And as you alluded to, taking prime productive farmland out of production is ridiculous because of a subsidization. This is, not allowing the free market system to work the way that it should. And it's more reason than ever that we need to gut the IRA and get back to our free market principles. And as you well know, Jeannie, we've also seen other, CCP related companies that have abused and used these tax credits. I think that's going to come to an end here one way or another. But again, there's been a manipulation and use of these IRA tax credits by China and others that's just simply unacceptable.
Well, you've been really good about taking on Goshen, and I appreciate you. And you do serve on the Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. So I wanted to see if there were any updates there. But I also did want to know, what is the status of your No Goshen Act?
Well, our No Goshen Act is been reintroduced by John Mullenhour, Senator Rick Scott in the Senate, which is great to have him as an ally, and a number of others. And we are moving forward. We're moving forward. And as we've talked about before, Jeannie, if we look at what Goshen has engaged in, they're basically trying to use federal tax incentives with a battery-operated plant in Kankakee, Illinois, and also up in Green Township. And our legislation, up there, our legislation would obviously prohibit any CCP affiliated company from using these tax dollars and put them out of business for any type of qualifying green energy production tax credit that were put forth in the IRA. So I feel good about that. I feel even better, Jeannie, because of your work and people on the ground, both in Kankakee and up in Green Township, that have flipped their legislative bodies there at the county and municipal and local level because of the outrage here. But we continue to move forward. We're going to have a hearing at some point on the Select Committee on China to move forward on it. And I feel better than ever where we're at, but we got to make sure that this doesn't go forward. And by the way, the one up in Green Township, I should say, has already announced they're not going to move forward. We got to make sure it doesn't happen in Kankakee.
Yes, I just had a conversation with the lawyer just a couple days ago, who is both the lawyer for the Concerned Citizens of Manteno and also Green Charter Township. And his prognosis is that they are not going to go forward whatsoever. The Goshen has been stalled out in Michigan. However, because Illinois is much more favorable ground, and what you have seen, by the way, is Goshen buying up hundreds of acres around the current Goshen plant in Manteno to probably for expansion, because they're probably going to try and actually not just assemble batteries there, but also manufacture batteries there. That would be a whole new deal, which is why it's super important that we get the No Goshen Act passed. And it's also important that we get all these incentives taken out of, circulation so that they can't get money off the taxpayers. And I want to make one more point. That massive solar farm down in Sangamon County, which is by Springfield, that solar farm is covering soybeans and corn, which Governor Pritzker, speaking out of both sides of his mouth, says, well, listen, these tariffs are terrible for our soybean farmers. We need to export our soybeans, and shame on Doge for taking away our soybean. I forgot it. It's some sort of a lobbying group for soybeans being sold across the seas. Terrible that Doge said we should take that out. And yet, at the same time, he's covering our good farmland with solar panels. So which is it? Do you want soybeans produced here and shipped overseas, or do you not, Governor Pritzker?
Well, all good points, Jeannie. He ought to be focusing on, instead of being in New Hampshire talking about running for president, he ought to be focused on fixing the problems in Illinois and the fact that we have the hugest outmigration of people leaving the state over the last 4 years here. We continue to hemorrhage people left and right, Republicans and Democrats and everybody, because they're sick and tired of his policies and how he's doubled down on spending and lack of a good business climate here and supporting sanctuary cities and illegal immigrants over the needs and the wants of working Illinoisans.
Yeah, speaking of which, I know that my West Point classmate, Brett Guthrie, he's the chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee, and I know he's been sort of talking about doing sort of a per capita caps on Medicaid funding going to these able-bodied adults that were added in with the Obamacare expansion. And I know he's getting pushback from that because people are going to message it as a Medicaid cut. That's not true. These people were never on Medicaid before, and that's not what the program was built for to begin with. But easily, these blue states like Illinois, instead of funding illegal aliens, why don't you fund the able-bodied if that's what you want to do? But certainly, the federal government should not be funding them whatsoever. It should be a state's decision to do that. And I'm all for the Medicaid cuts. And I know that may not be popular, but let's face it, there's a lot of people on that, like you said, need a job instead.
Well, Jeannie, this would be a much different conversation we were having if we were $36 trillion in surplus.
Yes.
We're not. We are $36 trillion in debt. We can't forget that on behalf of looking out for the taxpayers of my district and across the country. And I mean, if Republicans have been waiting for this day to have the House and the Senate and the presidency, and if we can't get spending cuts now and reduce that debt and change the trajectory of our fiscal country, when are we ever going to be able to do that? Now is the time to put our money where our mouth is on fiscal responsibility and implementing the rescissions package and cutting back where we need to.
Yeah, Darin, you know what? I just love to get in as much as I possibly can. So there's just one more thing I want to raise your attention to, and maybe it's something that you could raise also with your committee. This is a press release from Chairman Molinar applauding the passage of the Deterrent Act. This was March 27th of this year. Today, we're taking a critical stand against the Chinese Communist Party's efforts to infiltrate and influence our academic institutions. Well, lo and behold, what do you know? The Illinois Math and Science Academy's new principal cozied up to the Chinese when he was a principal in Virginia, and now is looking to have a partnership with the Chinese again. And I mean, just parts of what he was doing should be very concerning to Americans. I mean, he was literally going to have to turn over all sorts of information to the Chinese about research lab setups, blueprints, floor plans, curricula, thumb drives on senior student research projects, all of this in order to get some funding for an expansion that he wanted. And then they were using all this information to set up what they call the Thomas schools in China. I mean, I don't like this. And I think you should maybe put it in as part of your body of work to talk about.
Well, Jeannie, I know you sent me the article on it. I read it just briefly before we jumped on here. But listen, we can't trust or rely on the CCP or affiliated groups in any way. You know, they mask themselves. They hide behind these names that they use. For instance, the Confucian Centers. You know, these are some benevolent organizations that help promote, relationships between the U.S. and China. Wrong. They've been exposed. These are espionage related operations. I mean, there's hard evidence to support that. You know, the LLC corporations and partnerships that have been formed to buy up farmland. Oh, surprisingly near military bases and other things directly tied to the Chinese. And it goes on and on and on, these benevolent organizations. This is another example of it. I'm glad you raised it with me. It will be brought up when I get back to D.C. next week with Chairman Mollenauer and our staff, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Well, thanks a lot. He's Congressman Darin LaHood from the 16th Congressional District. Darin, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your insight.
Great to be with you, Jeannie. Look forward to coming back soon.
All right, we'll be right back with the real story. Lots more to discuss.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real. It happens every day. You can recover. Discover hope and help.
Never give up on yourself.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Fox News, I'm Darin Albinger, the U.S. and China are making major progress toward a deal on trade. China's Vice Premier, He Feng.
The atmosphere of the meeting was candid, in-depth, and constructive. The meeting achieved substantial progress and reached important consensus.
No official announcement yet, though. More air traffic control problems at the nation's airports, including another outage at Newark Liberty in New Jersey. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby's advice to flyers?
It absolutely is safe at Newark and in the entire country. And the reason is, when these kind of outages happen, we train for them. We have backup procedures. We have backups to backups to backups to keep the sky safe, which is always the number one priority.
Kirby on CBS's Face the Nation. The White House says the nation's air traffic control system will be overhauled. America's listening to Fox News.
Right now, MyPillow is having 2 sales in one. The first is a closeout sale on Percale bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $25. That's right, you can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $25. 11 colors to choose from. When they're gone, they're gone. The second sale is a new energy drink called Rev 7, a premium energy drink that is actually good for you. It tastes great and gives you energy all day. Plus, it has no sugar, no caffeine, so you don't experience those jitters and crashes that we've all been through with the other energy drinks. What makes Rev 7 so special is that it's powered with a premium nootropic that helps fuel your mind and provides the most efficient and cleanest fuel ever. For a limited time, get an introductory 3-pack absolutely free. These amazing offers won't last long, so order now. Just go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201.
Spring, a time to get outside, be active, play with the grandkids, enjoy life. But if high blood pressure is holding you back, the sooner you get control of it, the sooner you'll stop being a walking time bomb. High blood pressure is a serious issue. Your blood vessels are constricted, your mortality risk is high. So what can you do besides take medications with side effects? Well, there's a delicious juice that can help bring your numbers back down. It's called 120 Life, and it has natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Yes, a superfood juice is showing amazing results for high blood pressure without the side effects of big pharma medication. Try 120 Life risk-free now with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout for 15% off.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime adventure. Set sail August 16th through the 23rd on the Patriots Alaska Cruise with me, Larry Elder, Mike Gallagher, plus special guests Jennifer Horn and Joe Piscopo. Experience breathtaking glaciers, fjords, and wildlife, all while diving into critical discussions about America's future with today's top political voices. Cabins are going fast. Text TRAVEL to 94878 right now to secure your spot before it's too late. Travel to 94878 right now to secure your spot before it's too late.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.
Funny you mention it. I just stopped by Forever Remodeling's new showroom in Niles. I saw over a dozen kitchen and bathroom layouts they designed. They even offered to stop by the house and give us a free in-home design consultation.
What'd you tell them?
That we're free today?
Visit foreverremodeling.com today. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. That's usually the Watchdog intro music, but guess what? This time it's a different type of watchdog. It's my watchdog, and I'm watching China, and I'm watching what they're doing, especially because they're all over the state of Illinois, all over them. But guess what? They had a huge scandal just break out in Stanford, and here is brand new senator from Florida, Senator Ashley Moody's. Just a little clip about what she had to say about it.
We take 300,000 Chinese students a year into our universities. There's a law in the books that says they have to provide intelligence gathering and information to the CCP. We also had information in Congress before I even got here that they were setting up these programs to organize spies and push them into our universities using visas. And when I got here and realized that there was no law stopping the visa program, even though we had that information, I immediately launched a bill that would end visas for Chinese students. Now, nothing against Chinese students that want to learn, but if you have a government that is enlisting them, and not just enlisting them, requiring them by law under penalty to be espionage agents when they get here, we cannot keep inviting them into our nation. And so time after time over the last few years, we have found Chinese students with drones, cameras on our military bases, stealing information at our universities, and nothing has been done.
If you missed the article, the Stanford Review themselves wrote about it. If you missed this absolutely travesty, they found that a CCP agent impersonated a Stanford student. He approached several students through social media, tried to connect with them, and did whatever spies do. And so Stanford's, they're being very public about this. They wrote this lengthy article about it. But meanwhile, in the state of Illinois, we have our Illinois Math and Science Academy now being possibly used as another vehicle for the Chinese to learn about what we do with 10th through 12th graders, our smart kids in the STEM area. And this all comes from its president, President Glazer. He's a principal who came under fire for helping China clone America's best STEM high school. And he has a new job. And he's partnering with the Chinese again. That's right. He moved from Virginia's Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology to IMSA. By the way, he gets paid $317,000 a year, by the way. And back when he was in Virginia, he started to get cozy with the Chinese. He wanted money from them. He got the money from them to some building project he wanted. And as a result of that, he started this exchange program. He started to give them all of the information about how they set up their STEM school in Virginia, all the curriculum, the outlines, what they do, everything. And they set up, instead of the Chinese, set up the Thomas schools in China and modeled them after this Virginia school. And now Evan Glazer, IMSA principal, wants to do the same thing here in Illinois. Well, I needed an expert to come in and tell us more about this. And so I've invited Gordon G. Chang to come on. And I so appreciate him spending some time with us. I mean, we're not Fox News, which he is on, CNN, CNBC, or any of the other channels that he is on. But I appreciate him because I would say this, Mr. Chang, I would say that in Illinois, we're so receptive to the Chinese and what they're doing that we should be something that is focused on all the time from the national level. People should be paying attention what the Chinese are trying to do in Illinois. So I just want to get your response right away about, first of all, what's happened at Stanford, and second of all, why we're now seeing this in secondary schools, these relationships with the Chinese.
Well, thank you, Jeannie. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. What's happened is that over the past several decades, the Communist Party has infiltrated almost every institution in the United States and most of the schools. So it's not just Stanford, which is a prestigious university where you have these Ministry of State security agents running around trying to get people to steal information for China, but it's also secondary schools. So, for instance, just to give you a sense, the Confucius Institutes on college and university campuses, at their height, there were about 120 of them. But at the same time, there were about 500 Confucius classrooms in our secondary schools. So this really is not just upper education. This is, getting the kids when they're early and indoctrinating them into Communist Party. This is really, really bad. And we've got to get the Chinese communists out of our schools.
It's really concerning because obviously, actually, the National Review, Daily Wire, Parents Defending Education, all blew the whistle about what this Evan Glazer was doing way back when he was doing this in Fairfax County at this Thomas Jefferson High School. And here's Illinois welcoming this man in and letting him still get cozy with the Chinese Communist Party again. And I just, first of all, I'm thrilled that we picked it up as an article. I think we're probably the only ones in Illinois that have written about this, about Illinois and about this IMSA president. But I'm just shocked that there's not more attention given to this.
Well, in Florida, you've got a Republican governor who has decided he's going to go after the Chinese communists throughout his state. And, you have governors, both Republicans and Democrats, who are anti-CCP. But unfortunately, in your state, you have a governor who is very pro-China, who is allowing the Chinese money to come in, allowing the Chinese to infiltrate the political system at the school level, also at the town council level. And that's just wrong. Yeah, of course, people want investment, but we do not want America's enemy to be infiltrated into the levels, all levels of Illinois. That's just wrong.
Well, they are. I mean, most people don't know this, and maybe you don't either. But back in about 2017, the University of Illinois was so concerned that it was going to lose a Chinese student population because they depend on that full tuition and fees being paid by the international students. They were so concerned that they took out an insurance policy. It cost them $1.2 million for this insurance policy for 3 years. And it essentially said if our Chinese student population drops more than 18%, then we'll get that amount recovered in tuition and fees. Now that's insidious, that you would be dependent on Chinese students for your tuition and fees. By the way, and it's not because we don't fund higher education in the state of Illinois. We are number one in the amount of state support we give per full-time equivalent to our public universities in the state. And you can look that up in the State Higher Education Executive Officer's SHIO report. We've been number one for quite a while.
And you don't need the Chinese money, especially when we know that Chinese students, they're under two obligations to commit espionage. One of them, of course, is just what was mentioned in your clip. That's the 2017 National Intelligence Law of China, which requires every Chinese national, every Chinese entity to spy if demanded. But even more important, there's a Communist Party's top-down system where nobody in Chinese society can disobey an order of the Communist Party. And of course, these are orders not just to espionage, to commit acts of espionage, but if theoretically acts of sabotage. This is something that, we've got to wrap our minds around. So, for instance, we know that Ministry of State Security agents and Chinese consular officials will go to Chinese nationals, also go to American citizens of Chinese descent and say, if you don't do what we want, we're going to give you, you're going to give your mother a hard time who's living in Guangzhou. So this is something that we've known that's been going on for decades. We have the means to stop it. We can stop these Ministry of State Security agents from violating our sovereignty. We can stop Chinese consular officials and other diplomats from violating the terms of their entry to the U.S. But we don't do it. And this is not just a problem of Democrats. This is a problem of Republicans as well. So we got bipartisan failure to protect our own country.
Well, I will say this, though. The Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, the leader of that is Chairman John Molinar. He's a Republican from Michigan. I've met him before. In fact, I think 2 of his kids, girls, went to West Point. So anyway, they wrote this letter March 18th to Tim Killeen, the president of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Dear Mr. Killeen, the United States is at a dangerous crossroads where the pursuit of short-term financial gains by academic institutions jeopardizes long-term global technological leadership and national security. Our nation's universities, long regarded as the global standard for excellence and innovation, are increasingly used as conduits for foreign adversaries to illegally gain access to critical research and advanced technology. The next paragraph goes on. The significant tuition revenue generated by international students, many of whom pay full tuition, has caused elite universities to become financially dependent on foreign enrollment, particularly from China. The large influx of Chinese national students into the United States presents a growing national security challenge. It goes on and on. The CP's talent recruitment programs actively incentivize students and researchers to return to China and apply their acquired skills in ways that directly benefit the regime's economic and military ambitions. And so they're putting the Killeen, University of Illinois president, they're putting him on notice in this March 18th, 2025 memo. Is there do you see a shift at the federal level with people actually going to take on these universities, and especially in Illinois, take on this freaking secondary school is getting cozy with the Chinese? Do you think that we're going to see a change?
We're seeing a change already.
Okay.
We have Chairman Molinar, who is a great guy, by the way, and his committee is doing God's work. And it was doing God's work not only under Chairman Molinar, but also under Chairman Gallagher before him, the Republican from Wisconsin. So really, this is important because both Gallagher and Molinar have been able to maintain a bipartisan consensus, which means this is not political, which is good. And it also means that we are moving towards getting the Chinese out of our schools, but also getting them out of our other institutions, media, Hollywood, political parties. Across the board, China has been trying to penetrate everything that moves in the United States.
Okay, Gordon, if it's okay, if you could hold on for just a quick 2-minute break. I just want to follow up with a little bit more news on the Goshen deal in Illinois.
Of course. Thank you.
We'll be right back. This is The Real Story.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest to reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back. Still on the phone with me is Gordon G. Chang, and you can follow him on X or Twitter at Gordon G. Chang. That is his address there. So take a follow because he puts out great information. And again, I really appreciate you coming on. And I also appreciate the article that you wrote highlighting what was going on in this tiny little town, population 9,000, Manteno, Illinois, where Goshen has set up a plant. Essentially, it was supposed to be for battery, electric vehicle battery assembly. I think they're going to go full manufacturing at this point because they're getting shut down in Michigan. The Green Charter Township has a great lawyer, and I think they're getting very frustrated up there. So they've been buying up hundreds of acres of farmland around Manteno, and it looks to me like they're going to try to both manufacture and also assemble those EV batteries there. What do you think can stop him? I mean, there is a lawsuit still going on, Mr. Chang, and there's going to be an update on that Wednesday of this week down in the Kankakee Courthouse. I'm going to be there. I want to see what's going on. But what do you think that we have any chance to get No Goshen Act passed? I know that I just spoke with Darin LaHood. He's optimistic it'll get passed. However, Raja Krishnamurthy is the ranking member on that select committee on the Chinese Communist Party, and he hasn't signed on to it. Probably because J.B. Pritzker has a big checkbook and Raja lives in Illinois.
Well, a couple things can stop it.
Okay.
One of them is that the Tariff Act of 1930, which prohibits the importation into the United States of goods made with forced labor. Now, almost all the components for Goshen come from basically Uyghur slave labor. Now, they're just components, but it doesn't matter. They are not allowed into the U.S. Forget about the tariffs. They're just not allowed in the U.S. So what we got to do is get the Trump administration to enforce the Tariff Act of 1930. And it's absolutely essential because we should not have American workers who are competing against slaves. That's just not fair, and it's morally wrong to boot. The other thing that we can do is, you mentioned they're buying up farmland. We have got, a number of states have done this, but we have got to enforce reciprocity. So, for instance, no American can own a square inch of land in China. So why are we allowing Chinese entities to buy up our farmland? That seems to me to be so wrong. And this is, I think, a pressure point that can be used against Goshen and every other Chinese company. They should not own our farmland.
Well, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, but they're probably claiming, oh, we're an American company, Goshen Inc. is just, but can you kind of just debunk that again, that this is actually part of Goshen High Tech? They are aligned and supported by the Chinese Communist Party in their efforts. They also have military connections, too, through various other entities. Can you just kind of debunk that for people, that you can't believe what they say by saying that they're an American company, you know, headquartered in California, but now located in Goshen, because they're bringing in foreign workers, too, by the way. We know that they're doing that.
Yes, who probably are not only just workers, but also probably Ministry of State Security agents.
Okay.
People who have come here to harm the United States. And yes, they may have formed a U.S. company, but that U.S. company is owned and controlled in China. And remember, with regard to the Communist Party, no Chinese entity can disobey an order from the Communist Party. So if the party tells Goshen in China to do something, then Goshen is under an obligation to tell Goshen U.S. to do something. So they're all instrumentalities of a hostile foreign regime that considers us to be an enemy, by the way.
Yeah, well, okay, so the next step then for us is to do what? What do you have any recommendation for ordinary citizens at this point?
Well, we've just got to mobilize. We got to get the facts out there, because when people understand the facts, I think that the light bulb will go on and say, no, we can't have this Chinese company in our country. And remember, during the campaign, J.D. Vance was campaigning against, I think it was cattle, which is just like Goshen. But it is another big Chinese investment in the United States, and they're here to harm us. So whatever they have as a U.S. company, that's not important. What's important is Chinese control and ownership, and we have got to make sure that we do not allow them into our country, because we've seen what's happened in the past. They bring in Chinese agents, and they also destroy our environment, and they do all sorts of other things that we have just that are antithetical to our way of life.
Okay, before I let you go here, just one more question, because with the tariff situation, we hear all sorts of stuff about the Chinese economy is slowing down, that they are very concerned about the tariffs themselves. What is the truth? I've also heard that China shut down its information that usually flows out, economic information. So what should we believe about how the tariffs are having an effect on China? And even prior to the tariffs, what was the state of their economy?
Yeah, even before President Trump's April 2nd Liberation Day tariffs, China's economy was contracting. You can see this from underlying indicators, especially price data. Price data from February and March showed that China is in a deflationary spiral. That's inconsistent with the 5.4% growth that they claim for the first quarter of this year. So we've just got to understand that the Chinese economy is in distress. Trump's tariffs have made the situation worse. We've seen factories in China closing. Workers are protesting because they haven't been paid back wages. Workers are going back to their hometowns and to farms. This is a crisis for China. And recently, in the last couple of days, we've seen people complain about not being able to get their money out of Chinese banks. So this is a country, China, which is in trouble right now. And Trump's tariffs have only made it worse, which is good for us because it gives us leverage over dealing with China. And now we can use that leverage to get Goshen out of Illinois.
And what do you think what Trump should do in the tariffs fight with China? What is an acceptable tariff rate or no tariff rate, or should we just let them collapse?
Yeah, we just let them collapse. We've had 3 times American presidents have come to the rescue of the Chinese Communist Party. That was Nixon in 1972, George H.W. Bush in 1989, and Bill Clinton in 1999. And in those last 2 cases, there was no justification for what Bush and Clinton did. They thought they could cooperate with China, that we could have a good relationship with them. Well, it didn't work out that way, as we can see right now. So I don't want President Trump to rescue the Communist Party a 4th time by taking down the tariff rates. You got to understand that this is an existential fight because the Chinese believe they're in an existential fight. So we are in one, whether we like it or not.
Oh, my gosh, you are a breath of fresh air. I wish you could come and testify in hearings in the State House of Illinois and wake these people up. He's Gordon G. Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. And he's actually a China expert, as you well know. And I have to tell you, I just so appreciate you coming on my show and adding a lot of context to the fights that we're having in these little towns in Manteno at our STEM high schools. I mean, the China influence here is outrageous. The fact that our governor is so cozy, and I really appreciate you informing all of us about how dangerous this situation is.
Well, I really appreciate coming on your show, Jeannie, so thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Well, that about does it for us. We're finished for the night. I hope you enjoyed the program. I thought we had great content. Really enjoyed my guest this time. We'll be back next week with more.
Looking for a peaceful and enduring resting place for yourself or a loved one? Discover Fairview Memorial Park in North Lake, Illinois, a tranquil haven where your family's legacy can be honored for generations. We're excited to announce the upcoming completion of our beautiful new garden mausoleum opening this spring, offering both above-ground burial and cremation options. This serene space is surrounded by meticulously maintained landscaping and beautiful trees. With limited space available in our mausoleum, mausoleum, now's the time to plan ahead. Reserve your family's place today with prices starting around $7,000. And for a limited time, take advantage of a $500 discount when you pre-purchase a crypt. To learn more or secure your spot, visit fairview-memorialpark.com. That's fairview-memorialpark.com. Or stop by Fairview Memorial Park at 900 North Wolf Road in North Lake. Fairview Memorial Park. Peacefully beautiful.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app. Or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Let's make a deal. I'm Darin LaHood, Fox News. They talked for 2 days. Trade officials for the U.S. and China say they're making major strides toward an agreement on tariffs. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
His Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is in Geneva negotiating for the first time face-to-face with his Chinese counterpart, as well as President Trump's trade representative, Jamieson Greer. But it's notable that Secretary Bessent did not use the word deal. This is what he said standing alongside Greer outside in Geneva after that meeting.
I'm happy to report that we've made substantial progress between the United States and China in these very important trade talks.
The White House announced it on X, posting, breaking, U.S. announces China trade deal in Geneva.
President Trump will be in the Middle East this week, where he will negotiate trade with leaders in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. The first direct peace talks between Russia and Ukraine could take place in Turkey, but Ukraine says this must happen first.
European leaders threatened President Putin with fresh sanctions if Russia failed to comply with an unconditional 30-day ceasefire starting Monday. Putin then made the announcement proposing talks in Istanbul on Thursday and has insisted he is committed to serious negotiations this time. But again, President Zelensky wants that ceasefire in place first. President Donald Trump, he wrote on Truth Social, saying in part President Putin of Russia doesn't want to have a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine, but rather wants to meet on Thursday in Turkey to negotiate a possible end to the bloodbath. Ukraine should agree to this immediately.
Fox's Stephanie Bennett. Hamas is reportedly planning to release Eden Alexander. The IDF member is an Israeli-American citizen and the last surviving American hostage in Gaza. It's part of an effort to reach a ceasefire deal and to resume humanitarian aid deliveries to Gaza. America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
It'll be clear overnight with low 55. Sun giving way to clouds tomorrow with a high 78. Might want to grab an umbrella tomorrow night. Mostly cloudy and mild with a stray thunderstorm heading our way with low 60. Cloudy on Tuesday with a thunder shower, high 74. Warm on Wednesday with a blend of sun and clouds with a high 78. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job, really tremendous.
Plus, tell them